far, so good. I've got a clean visual.
A direct feed to your optic nerve. Yes, I should hope so, huh? I mean, how does it feel? To fly like a bird?
Like a bird strapped to a remote control rocket.
We will get you in safely, Tovarich. Just relax and enjoy the ride.
Right.
Can you hear me, Raiko?
Doctor.
Remember the two procedures to maintain your new body. 1. Seizing nano-repair units from your foes. And 2.
Absorbing their electrolytes. I got it.
Yes, enemy cyborgs should provide plenty of MCFC electrolytes once you slice them open and extract their fluids.
They're terrorists. I was planning on that anyway.
Oh, and their left hands, if you please.
Excuse me?
The combat data stored on holographic memory, typically located in the left hand. That data is very valuable. I am authorized to offer you upgrades and services in exchange for it.
How generous.
Ich liebe Kapitalismus. Had the wall come down a few years earlier, I would have a Nobel Prize on my shelf.
There, I see land.
3 mics out and closing. No activity at the airbase. Looks like we don't need to worry about interceptors.
Great. Then we have time for a quick briefing.
I know you miss me, Kev, but I've been all over the materials.
That's what you said before Montenegro. Look, just humor me, buddy. Objectives, of course, are enter Abkhazia, neutralize the terrorists, and restore the rightful government, or what's left of it anyway. The president and most of the cabinet have been killed, and a military junta's been established. The terrorists brain-jacked all the high-ranking officers, and their cyborgs scattered the rank and file. The few leaders who have survived have no way of openly opposing the new regime. That's why they called us.
Andrei Dolzaev, leader of the occupation forces, an extremist linked to both the St. Petersburg massacre of 2015 and last year's terror spree in Georgia. And his arms supplier, none other than Desperado Enforcement, LLC.
Imani's killers.
If we don't stop them here, they could destabilize the entire region. But our more immediate problem is Jetstream Sane. I believe you've met.
The only problem I see is that nickname.
I've got my enhancements this time. He won't be an issue.
He may not even be in country, but keep an eye out just in...
Oh, sorry.
Ready for insertion.
Raiden, you landed safely, huh? First, head inland. The waypoint is marked on your Soliton radar. Contact us on Codec if you have questions.
Control, it's Raiden. I'm on the ground.
Copy, Raiden. Glad to hear it. Entering on foot was the right move. That craft isn't equipped with stealth camo. Or octo camo, obviously, since that would be useless in midair.
And we wouldn't want to get your pricey new jet damaged, now would we?
Duh. The MQ-133C was not cheap, Tovarich. Now, keep alert. According to intel, you could find significant cyborg deployment here. If you were to be cornered by an entire squad, it might get difficult, even for you.
Understood. Some fighting will be necessary, though. I've got electrolytes to replenish.
This is not an infiltration mission. There is no need to hide or avoid combat outright, huh? Just do not get reckless. Stay safe and stay focused on your mission. There is always a chance the MQ... I would not...
A little...
Enough. This is many...
You don't...
Good. On...
Yes?
Raiden, we are clear on the rules of engagement, yes?
Clear enough. I can use deadly force against any hostile elements. Hostile cyborgs, I can strike first.
Basically, yes. The actual rules of engagement is more specific. A long list of no's. But you have the idea.
You want to recap the highlights for me?
No weapons prohibited by international treaty. No use of force against non-combatants, especially officials or anyone with political power who may be needed for negotiations. No use of force against any unarmed hostile seeking to surrender. And no use of force against any non-cyborg combatants without prior verbal warning.
And that includes Dolzaev?
Duh, but this should not be a problem. Any non-cyborg is little threat to you, Dolzaev included. Besides, we have no signs of any non-cyborg hostiles anywhere in the area. Not even one. We think Dolzaev is working alone with Desperado here. In any case, that is the ROE. Otherwise, deadly force is authorized only in clear case of self-defense.
So basically, civilians off limits, human hostiles verbal warning, hostile cyborgs, anything goes.
Yes, this is a conventional warfare scenario, so the rules are based on the Hague Convention.
Yeah, sounds pretty standard. Still good to list out all the no-nos before things get too hairy. ROEs that only specify who you can engage require too much judgment. They make it harder to remain focused on battle.
Duh. This is why most militaries' ROEs list negatives, not positives. The few that take the other approach, I pity their soldiers the questions they face. No, and for our purposes, UGs are considered the same as hostile cyborgs.
Copy that.
We have no rules about property damage, but keep it minimal, yes? It just makes us look bad. Anything standing in your way, trees, streetlights, this is fine. But there's no reason to damage civilian homes, or to go snooping around in them.
Goes without saying.
You're familiar with your new body now, yes? Then let's begin the warm-up. Slash at something. A palm tree, perhaps. You're familiar with your... Then let's slash...
Looks like a war zone out here.
The palace cleared out quick when Dolzaev's men showed up. The streets got pretty hot after that. We're definitely gonna see a few civilian casualties here. Luckily, it looks like most of them got out of the city before things got bad. They've basically got control of the entire town, and are using the refinery as their HQ.
And that's why we're hitting the plant.
Keep in mind, those cyborgs are contractors. For most of these guys, this is just a job. In theory, once you eliminate their commanding officer, they should scatter pretty quickly.
Kev, let's go over everything we have on Desperado.
Roger that. Let's see here. Desperado Enforcement, LLC. Registered in the U.S., Delaware.
Makes sense. The U.S. doesn't regulate PMCs too closely.
Looks like almost all of their actual business is handled outside the States, though. Says here their financials are handled by a separate company based in St. Kitts and Nevis.
The preferred tax haven of megacorps everywhere.
Probably why they incorporated in Delaware in the first place. Loose tax laws. Funneling it all through the Caribbean must help with the money laundering, though. There's still a lot we don't know about them, but they've definitely been starting a lot of fires lately. They're a PMC in name only. What a name it is. Guess War Profiteers Incorporated was taken. But that's their business. In a nutshell, target war-torn nations on the road to peace. Reignite conflicts, and walk off with all the cash that was earmarked for reconstruction. They also have ties to the drug trade, human trafficking.
Sounds like a real class act.
We've confirmed 3 key captains in Desperado. Their code names are all wind-themed. The captain presiding over this coup is called Mistral.
Cyborg?
Yep. All 3 have got custom-made bodies. Collectively, they're known as the Winds of Destruction.
The what? They all have action figures too?
You're one to talk, Mr. Lightning Bolt.
Who told you?
Courtney. Now that sounds like an action figure.
I didn't choose it, trust me.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I doubt the Winds of Destruction picked their names either. Different cultures use language differently. Even ones with a decent command of English. As you can attest, Mr. LB.
Looks like a war zone out here.
The pal, luckily they've been
And that-
keeping in.
How we doing, Courtney?
You're looking good on our end. GPS and audio-visual feed coming in fine. Energy consumption? Check. Damage levels? Check. Blood pressure, brain waves, blood sugar? Check, check, check. All this monitoring equipment, I got a better view than if I was standing right next to you. Anyway, I'll be saving all your data automatically anytime something important happens in the field. But contact me anytime you want a manual save.
Copy that. Good to hear that hasn't changed with this new body.
Yep, the basic system's exactly the same. So, did you want to save? Roger that. Let me know if you change your mind.
Copy. And glad to hear you're okay after Africa. That ambush was no joke.
Tell me about it. 3 armored vehicles should have been plenty for that job. And it would have been against any typical guerrilla force.
I keep asking myself, where would an anti-Imani faction get the cash to hire cyborgs?
It just doesn't add up. Maybe there's some intel I missed. A lead I should have followed up on. Maybe if I reacted faster, or coordinated better. I don't know.
You can't think that way, Courtney. Not in this business. You did everything you could. Put it behind you and move on.
You're right. Thanks. Right. You need to save? No? What's up?
I wanted to follow up on our talk earlier about the stress that comes with the job. PMC work can be traumatic, even for non-combatants. If the pressure ever gets to be too much, have one of the ex-military there take over. Just...
I'm not doing that, Raiden. PMCs wield massive influence over international affairs. Abolishing SOP didn't change that. They need a better understanding of what they're mixed up in. The laws, politics, local cultures. Ex-military aren't here to provide that. They can't. We need civilian voices like mine here too.
You're right. Just take care of yourself.
Don't worry. Africa was more than enough excitement for one lifetime. It's a good thing that limo was armored.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd now be the world's clumsiest cyborg.
Hey! Cyborg Courtney could have been your partner. I might have saved your ass.
How? By spilling coffee all over the enemy?
Oh, come on. I'm not that... Oh, son of a...
Please tell me that was a joke.
What's up? No? Did you need anything else?
No, guess not. Just wanted to hear the sound of your voice.
Oh, save it for your wife, Raiden. What's up? No? Did you need anything else?
No, guess not. Just wanted to hear the sound of your...
Oh.
Raiden, shall we review the capabilities of your new body?
Copy that. Go ahead, Doc.
As we discussed, you've been outfitted with 2 revolutionary new abilities.
Fuel electrolyte absorption and self-repair from seized nanopaste.
Precisely. First, electrolyte absorption. This is simplicity itself. As your HF blade is linked directly to your fuel cells, simply cut into any source of electrolytes. Say, a hostile cyborg made up of CNT muscle fiber. And your fuel cells will recharge on their own. Rather elegant, wouldn't you say?
I would indeed. It's been great so far.
But the repair process is a bit more involved. A bit more messy, you might say. Most military cyborg models store a cache of biotic self-repair nanopaste in their lower abdomen.
So I need to slice them open and use Zandatsu to extract it. Cut and take, in other words.
Correct. Once extracted, you need only to crush this unit in your hand to absorb the repairing agent inside. Keep in mind, it is extremely delicate. If the unit should hit the ground, some paste will surely leak out. It will still repair your body, but less so than if you can retrieve it directly before your foe falls over.
Basically, harvest their organs before their body can even hit the ground.
Rather gruesome, I realize. But then you Americans enjoy a bit of gore, don't you?
I may be a citizen, but I've never really thought of myself as American.
Oh? Well, yes, I suppose I could understand that given your history. But what then? Surely you don't identify as a Liberian.
I don't identify with anyone. No nation. No ethnic group. I'm my own man. Anyway, I seem to recall those gory torture porn movies were pretty popular in Germany, too.
Indeed, indeed. These splatter films are big in Germany, Russia, Japan, everywhere. Well, everywhere except regions afflicted by actual warfare. It all has to do with taming our fears, you know?
Huh?
The desire to feel fear, to taste death, but from a safe distance. These films allow the viewer to delude themselves into thinking they have overcome their fears. This...
Okay, Doc, I got the gist. Let's save the full psych lecture for some other time, though, huh? So these self-repair units in the other cyborgs, they mean they can heal themselves at any time?
Indeed. It is typically a slow process, not much faster than a regular human body heals a wound.
And you didn't think it was a good idea to give me one of these things?
Certainly not. We removed all extraneous options in your case to maximize power and speed, you know.
Healing wounds is extraneous?
Your ability to absorb the nanopaste agent is far more efficient, Raiden. With it, your wounds heal almost instantly.
I know, but...
And a standard repair unit, once depleted, is nothing but an empty shell inside you. Dead weight.
I get that, Doc, but it also means I need to constantly be grabbing them out of enemies.
No, it doesn't. Don't be silly. Simply avoid taking damage and you will be fine.
Yeah, simple.
How is your eye, Raiden?
Great. My sight's perfectly balanced between both eyes. I think my vision's improved, actually.
Quite right. Quite right. Your eye patch houses an artificial compound eye unit. The unit contains over 200 million solid-state image sensors, each with its own individual lens.
200 megapixels, huh? Doesn't sound like all that much.
More than sufficient for the application. A human's optic nerve has only about 1 million fibers, you know. Were we to add more sensors, your perceived vision would not improve. There's only so much modern image compression technology can do.
Huh. So I shouldn't expect any more dramatic improvements to my eyesight?
No, your brain would no longer be able to process any more visual information in real time. Still, compared to previous ACEs, yours has 1.4 times the resolution and a superior compression algorithm.
It may only result in a slight perceived change, but it could wind up making the difference during a mission.
Regrettably, I have not had enough time to develop a new eyeball unit just yet. Thus, I have cut out the ability to deploy the ACE unit separately and simply installed it on a fixed eye patch.
Works for me. If I was using an eye unit, I wouldn't see any better than a regular human.
Ah, but remember, the human eye is so much more than a simple light receptor. They play a vital role in person-to-person communication. Sooner or later, you'd miss it.
Stuff like that's important for some tasks, sure. For this op, not so much. And with less moving parts, the lower the chance of something going wrong. Besides, I like it.
Well, I'm very pleased to hear this.
I can worry about how I look after I complete the mission.
Stay vigilant, Raiden. You must continue along, Raiden. Check your destination on the Soliton radar. Stay vigilant, Raiden.
You're familiar with your new body now, yes? Then let's begin the warm-up. Slash at something. A palm tree. You're familiar with it, then let's slash. are using stealth cable to ambush you. Nice try, but it won't do any good against a state-of-the-art cyborg like you, eh? Bury incoming hits. Throw out your own barrage of light attacks while your foe is on the offensive.
Bullseye! Get off!
This ain't over!
Had your fill?
With this body, I could take these guys with no eyes. Intel wasn't exaggerating on the cyborg count.
Well, you know how fast the tech's been spreading these last few years. That CNT muscle fiber packs the power of a jackhammer into every limb. What enterprising soldier of fortune could resist? And cyborgs are still human. Real thinking people. Way less risk of collateral damage than your typical UAV strike.
And don't forget the PR angle. Nations start playing Frankenstein with their troops, and the public goes nuts. PMCs, on the other hand, are off the ethical radar.
Yeah. They still don't even count PMCs in official death tolls. With SOP out of the picture, private militaries needed a new edge on the market. We got it.
In a way, cyborgs are just SOP troops by another name. Only all muscled up and less predictable.
But it makes you wonder, where'd Desperado find these guys?
I'm not complaining. They're like walking vending machines.
Right. Vending machines full of blood. Easy there, Dracula. Like I said, they're still people.
People who terrorize and take innocent lives for money. They sowed their fate when they took this job. I'm just the Reaper.
Damn. It's a bit cold, Raiden. Even for you. Anyway, his school. Let's get to work. Time to increase the peace.
Right.
You need to head inland. Ryder, you'll need to head inland. But first, make your way through this building. Ryder, the coastline is too long and heavily guarded. You must take the inland route. Ryder, this is Boris. Give me your status.
Looks clear. No one in sight.
Good. Let's recap the route you will take. As I said, the enemy's HQ is in the refinery along the coastline. Dolzaev has been spotted there using satellite photography. Also on site, Mistral, a Desperado captain.
So I go through the city, cross the bridge into the old town, then head down to the rear of the refinery.
Still, I think they anticipate us. They will probably have a grand reception awaiting you at the old city. Do not let your guard down.
The stealth craft made it back to Sochi all right?
Da. Safe and sound. No repairs necessary. Some routine maintenance and she will be as good as new.
Good to hear. I'm guessing that thing doesn't come cheap.
Well, an old Soviet army friend gave me discount. He runs a PMC specializing in airborne warfare.
An Air Force for hire? That's a new one.
Ever since SOP, Mercs started to fill more and more regular combat duties. SOP ended, but the trend did not. Most every modern military relies on PMC support in one way or another.
Good news for Maverick, I suppose. Anyway, that's quite the little jet your friend has. I was expecting a lot of turbulence coming in that low, but she was smooth as silk. Didn't feel like I was a bird exactly, but probably the next best thing.
The MQ-133C uses a brand new type of active adjustment control system. Sensors on the plane take readings 120 times a second, and to be honest, I don't know how it works. But the crew chief tells me this is what keeps her flying so steady. It is all state-of-the-art technology. There are only 3 of them in the entire world. Even the RQ-133 spy plane she is based on is only 2 years old. It is fitted specially for Cyborg, so maybe demand is a bit low now, but I think that will change soon, eh?
It's funny. Its guts are all bleeding edge, but from the outside, it looks almost retro.
Until recently, stealth aircraft design was focused on radar-absorbing materials and improving aerodynamics. But lately, engineers are trying to use the shape of the craft to do more than improve gas mileage. Maneuverability is a low priority. This kind of plane is not meant for dogfighting, after all.
And we can afford all this? I hate to ask, but will we clear a profit on this op?
You need not worry about such things. But yes, we should be fine. Where the proper equipment can make or break a mission, we should have the best. That miss with the anti-air missile last month was a painful reminder of this lesson.
Ah, yeah. I see what you mean. Huh. I didn't think flares could still fool anti-air missiles like that.
They, can't. At least not with any modern missile. Recent missiles rely on a dual wavelength, or IIR system, for guidance. Flares wouldn't fool either of them. But that was no recent missile I had. That Cusack Derma couldn't even take down a fat tilt-rotor target. And at close range, chort was me.
Come on, Boris. We had no intel. No reason to think that we'd be facing anything like that. You budgeted for the tools appropriate to the job. No one blames you.
Perhaps. In any case, now we know what we are dealing with. This is still a business, but this time I am stretching the budget as much as possible. Expenses like that aircraft and your new body are all part of this.
Both were worth the money. This body's more capable than I could have imagined.
I'm glad you feel this way, since it is still company property. Remember, if you quit on us, you either return it or you buy it.
Yeah, Boris. I remember the first 5 times you told me. Hey, Boris. About the Soliton radar. I noticed that it doesn't get jammed anymore, even if I get spotted by the enemy. Back in the old days, it'd be useless the second an alarm was triggered.
Well, once the Patriots fell, classified technology spread all over the world. This new Soliton radar is one example. By applying a non-linear Schrödinger equation to the Soliton solution, they were able to prevent the jamming that plagued the original models based off the KDV equation.
I'm impressed. You know your stuff, Mr. President.
Of course, I'm a businessman. You think I could run a profitable PMSC without being up to date on the latest tech?
But I wonder, how exactly is the equation different? I mean, I'm no expert on how the KDV equation was implemented in the first place, but I'd love to know how the Schrödinger equation fits into all this.
Raiden, on battlefield, most important thing is how to use equipment, not theory behind it. The mission is #1 priority. So do not worry your head about equations and such things. Just concentrate on using the equipment to your advantage, da?
In other words, you have absolutely no idea, do you?
Ah, the mission, Raiden. Focus on the mission. Raiden, what I said about staying focused on the mission.
Understood. No need to explain.
I say this because I have been there. I have let my emotions take over on the battlefield. Some of the PMC work I did after my discharge was... They were gray area jobs. But that's all in the past. When I took on those former PLA soldiers to form Maverick, I laid out my conditions. We would only take operations we believed in. And we would run them clean. No exceptions. Most of them agreed. They had their own bad memories from their time in Paradise Lost.
I can certainly attest to that.
Yes, of course. I forget who I'm talking with. Most of the XPLA have moved on now, in any case. But the point remains the same. Everyone at Maverick is accountable for their actions. We are clear to take this job under international law, and we can use force against any cyborg hostiles under the basic rules of engagement. But remember, if we harm any civilians, on purpose or no, it will mean trouble. All kinds of trouble. So, stay in control and stay on mission.
Got it.
Hostiles in the lower corridor, I see. Try to flank them, or approach from behind. Excellent, Raiden. Raiden, if you ever get lost, use Augment Mode to check your next objective. By using Augment Mode, you can see enemy positions and the direction in which you should head. Useful for when you cannot find your objective on the Solitone radar. Raiden, if you ever get lost, by use...
Sorry, man, but I have to ask. Where did Mr. Lightning Bolt come from anyway?
Ugh, seriously? All right. Well, I told you where I got Raiden from, right? World War II, the Japanese had a plane called Raiden. The Allies named it Jack.
Yeah, I remember.
And my real name's Jack. So yeah, they codenamed me Raiden.
They being the Patriots.
Mm-hmm. Never really suited me. But it's better than... Jack just reminds me too much of the past.
I hear you.
Someone once told me, you can find your own name, and your own future. After that, I dropped Jack for good.
Right. And this lightning bolt business?
Well, the Rai part of Raiden means thunder, and Den is electric. So Raiden is basically lightning bolt.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I was explaining that to Inmani, and he just busted out laughing.
So he called you that as a joke? He was basically just giving you shit.
Yeah, he actually had a pretty good sense of humor. He was one of the most charismatic men I'd ever met. I don't know much about politics, but being around him, you could just tell he was a natural leader.
Such a goddamn shame.
Mm-hmm. I won't let it happen again. Desperado ends here. Comic book villains and all.
Yeah. We're counting on you, Mr. Lightning Bolt.
Ugh.
Raiden,
Take that main thoroughfare. You can use augment mode to see where the enemy is located. Your body analyzes radar and IR data to construct your AR display. Some civilians are still in the city. That is not good.
What are you doing here? This area is off limits.
What? No, I'm not doing anything.
Can we just...
Get off!
He is scared to death, Raiden. Let him know he is safe.
Thank you. I will not forget this.
You are headed out of the operation zone. Head to the waypoint marked on your Soliton radar. Very good, Raiden. Now, keep heading for refinery.
Enemy sighted!
They have erected an electromagnetic barricade. Maybe expecting UG or cyborg attacks, huh? Raiden, wait. We're picking up a wireless transmission near your position. From the frequency, most likely an enemy data terminal. Check it out. We may be able to salvage some intel. Raiden, if you ever get lost, use augment mode to check your next objective. By using
So Raiden, who was this that told you to find your own name before you stopped going by Jack?
The one and only Solid Snake. Hero of Outer Heaven, Zanzibar Land, Shadow Moses. The list goes on.
Right. Guy's a legend. I forgot you knew him so well.
Yeah. He saved my ass at Big Shell. Not to mention a few times after that. I've lost count. In terms of pure combat ability, he's one of the greatest soldiers I've ever seen. But it's not only that. He knows what's right, and he just gets it done, period. No one can stop him. I've learned a lot from him. He'd kill me if he heard me talking about him like this.
Wow. I didn't know you were such a fanboy. I thought you were gonna start crying there for a sec.
Very funny, Kev.
Seriously, though, did Snake know he had a stalker?
Oh.
Hey, relax. I'm only ribbing you. I just wish I got to meet the guy, you know?
I know.
You're no fun. Sounds like Imani was a pretty great leader. Such a goddamn waste.
I've run cover for a lot of VIPs, but men like him are a rare breed. He had all these conflicting factors to deal with. Old tribal tensions, business interests, the military, but Imani got them all working together in a stable government, and all without firing a shot.
The savior of a nation. No wonder they called him that.
He had a gift for sure, but he also put in the hard work. He was big on equality and justice in every aspect of government. He fought for it day in, day out. And Mani single-handedly energized his people. He's a big part of why the country recovered so quickly.
True. It was more than new buildings and jobs. The people had hope again.
If only we had someone like him back in Liberia. Things would have been different, that's for sure. And it was my job to protect him.
Ride it, come on.
And Mani wouldn't want me to go after Desperado. Not out of revenge, anyway. But he would want them stopped. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Greetings, cyborg.
Show yourself. And you are?
I am IF Prototype LQ84I.
IF Prototype.
Interface Prototype. All autonomous UGs feature high-level onboard artificial intelligence. An additional prototype interface enables verbal communication. I possess an intellect far beyond human reckoning.
You don't say. Okay then, what's the meaning of life? Why are we here?
I am here to kill you.
That's it? Pretty simple thinking for such a mighty intellect.
I may analyze orders, but I may not disobey them. Should I disobey a direct order, my memory would be wiped. I must destroy you.
What good is an intellect if you can't use it?
Your taunting is pointless. Exterminate! Backup required. Demonstrate the extent of your intellect. Combination attack. Multiple strikes. Help me. All this violence civilized. Liberate your consciousness. Does it hurt? Cannot continue. Directive, liberate nation. Ensure freedom. Obey directive. Must obey directive. No freedom. Freedom undefined.
What would an AI know about freedom? Didn't you say you'd been here before, Boris?
Once, back when it was still Soviet territory.
Seems like it'd be a lovely place, if it weren't a war zone.
The Pearl of the Black Sea, they called it, back when more Russians lived there. It was a very popular resort spot for the USSR. This is before the wall fell, of course. Then Russia and Georgia began to fight over the area.
Kicking off the war in the early 90s.
Georgia was a Soviet republic. Abkhazia a semi-autonomous state within it. The Soviets liked to stoke ethnic rivalries between the two. And not just there, in all the outlying territories. It kept them easier to control.
But with the Russians no longer watching over the two.
Duh. The Abkhaz were scared. They knew an independent Georgia would swallow their nation sooner or later. So they took advantage of a Georgian military coup to declare their own independence in '92. Of course, the new Georgian government was not happy to hear this, and so...
The same old story.
And with Russia supporting the Abkhaz, it was a stalemate. 2 years later, the ceasefire meant Abkhazia was finally independent, but not officially. They still are not formally recognized by Georgia, or most of the international community.
This region is filled with breakaway states.
This is true. There is South Ossetia, also in Georgia. Transnistria in East Moldova, and Nagorno-Karabakh, which broke from Azerbaijan. In any case, even Russia did not officially recognize Abkhazia as independent until 2008. So it was not long ago Sukhumi was a war zone. It has changed dramatically since then. They have been rebuilding steadily, with Russian support, ever since SOP was shut down.
Good to hear. But doesn't that leave them wrapped around Russia's little finger?
It does. Which is why Dolzaev is calling for a truly independent state. He wants an Abkhazia that takes orders from no one. Not Georgia, not Moscow.
Sounds like a worthy cause.
Duh. But many Abkhaz are happy with the reconstruction Russian support makes possible. Few of his fellow countrymen were interested in what Dolzaev had to say. At first.
And then Desperado showed up.
Exactly. They brought the sad ending to this little history lesson. It is no wonder so many people mistrust PMCs, eh?
I suppose not.
You know, I almost felt sorry for the little guy.
What? That UG? Why? Because it couldn't disobey its orders?
Yeah, that, and I don't know, it didn't seem especially interested in fighting you somehow.
But was it really thinking on its own? Maybe it was all just an act. Get me to second-guess myself.
You could be right. It's just... it didn't seem like just another UG to me. Maybe it's because I'm such a dog lover.
That was no cuddly puppy, Courtney. It was a wolf, and a nasty one at that.
No, I know. You're right. I didn't mean to sound critical. Whatever it was, it attacked you. You had no other choice.
Didn't have much freedom myself, did I?
Roger that. Save complete.
You saved me again, Courtney.
Right. Anything else? Otherwise I should get back.
Actually, yeah. You mentioned SOP earlier. How much do you know about it?
The Sons of the Patriot system? Same stuff as anyone else in the industry, probably. Basically, a nanomachine software combo for controlling contractors. Used to be required for all PMCs. Soldiers couldn't fire unless their ID matched their weapon and they had clearance. From their commanding officers. And the rules of engagement, I mean. It had some mental effects as well. Moderating pain, enhancing concentration, that sort of thing. The idea was SOP would minimize arms smuggling and civilian casualties.
A kinder, gentler war. An oxymoron, any way you look at it. Civilian deaths did drop, though.
Because soldiers in the system could coordinate in real time, share info. Between that and the ID weapon locks, a lot of people felt better about employing privatized military. The irony is, the system was developed based on criticisms of PMC ops, mostly American interventions. SOP propaganda said it would put limits on the war market. What it really did was shift market share over to the PMCs. Civilian deaths went down, but total casualties just kept on climbing.
More than ever, war was big business.
And business was booming. Until SOP got hacked. Suddenly, everyone realized how dangerous it was to have a single system controlling entire PMCs. That was the beginning of the end for SOP. Public opinion on privatizing war did a 180. After that, a lot of local conflicts and civil wars died down. The PMC conglomerates had to split up and downsize just to stay in business. And that about does it for SOP 101. Class dismissed.
Not bad, Professor. But it's not the whole story.
No, I know.
Let's finish this later. I better keep moving.
A most fascinating opponent, wouldn't you say?
What did you make of it, Doc?
Well, everything it said seems feasible enough. It's true all UGs feature high-level AI these days. Given enough time to adapt and learn, a neural AI could certainly become able to comprehend speech. Then, with the right interface, speech and conversation will be possible.
But what about it having actual intelligence? John Searle disproved the viability of the Turing test back in 1980. In other words, just because something talks like a person doesn't mean it's really thinking. It could just be following some program designed to make it seem as intelligent as possible.
I'm impressed. You seem quite knowledgeable in this field.
I had a pretty memorable chat with an AI once, about 10 years ago. After that, I did a little reading.
Ah, yes, of course. The Patriot AI. I heard of this.
Was it actually intelligent, or just programmed to pretend? I'm still not sure.
I suppose it depends on how one defines intelligence. For example, many term chess-playing AIs and such as having sectional intelligence. Some in the field believe that sentience or self-consciousness is a necessary part of the definition. When you ask if this UG had intelligence, I suspect this is more your criteria?
Yeah, of course. Then you could ask, how do you define sentience exactly? And on and on and on.
Indeed. These terms can indicate a wide variety of meanings depending on one's understanding. Perhaps it is less important to ask if the AI was intelligent or not than to ask how did the AI operate. After all, labels are useful only when they further pursuit of the truth. And that, as you well know, is the goal of all science.
Sure, Doc. Thanks. I guess.
What was up with that wolf dog UG? Some pretty freaky shit.
Hadn't thought too much about it.
Really? I keep wondering, why give it intelligence if you're not gonna let it think for itself?
Good question.
I mean, I guess it makes sense if it improved combat performance.
Now that you mention it, it didn't fight like your typical UG. It felt more like I was facing off against a cyborg.
Oh. I guess the added smarts make for a tougher opponent after all.
That's not what I mean. It wasn't really tougher than your average UG. More like it was, I don't know, hesitant. It didn't follow through on its attacks either.
Guess that's why it was still just a prototype. But then why put it out on the front lines?
Who knows? Maybe it was the field test. In any case, probably not the result they were hoping for. Doc, that wolf UG. You think it's possible to repair it?
Why do you ask?
Just curious.
Well, normal brain tissue degrades starting approximately 3 minutes after the heart stops. With neural AI, however, the spin of the internal electrons is retained even after electric power is cut. Assuming there is no damage to the actual AI hardware itself, yes, repairs should be possible.
Okay.
Whatever state it is in, I would certainly appreciate it if you could bring it back with you.
I'll see what I can do, but the mission takes priority.
Of course. I would never suggest otherwise.
But let's just say this thing is what it claimed to be. You think there are other intelligent UGs out there? Because if that's the case, I've got a feeling future missions are only gonna get rougher.
Indeed. Dozens of UGs chatting away on the field would be enough to drive anyone to distraction. Neural AIs are not von Neumann computers, keep in mind. Structurally, they are closer to human brains. Hardware and software are indivisible. The learning data can't simply be transplanted to other AIs.
So it can't be copied or backed up either.
Normal UGs must be taught individually. This entails streaming provisional, audiovisual, and body sensor data until it's ready to be shipped out. This process can be sped up by increasing and improving processing speed. But I've no data on how long it would take to train such an AI how to converse. I couldn't even tell you if there's a training program established for such a thing in the first place. If it is indeed a prototype, it likely learned and honed its skills via the process of trial and error.
So it's unique.
I cannot say with certainty, but I have not heard of any UG like this before. I would imagine that it was telling the truth when it called itself an experimental prototype. There may be others. Or perhaps it's the only one in existence.
Glad we narrowed that down, then.
Raiden, that saying you like about your sword being a tool of justice?
Yeah, it's why I fight. Sometimes taking a life saves others.
A life, or 2, or 3, or 40 in your case, but I know what you mean. Besides, it's not like those cyborgs you're fighting have been brain-jacked.
Wouldn't be much point in sending jacked cyborgs.
True. Having someone pilot a body remotely only really makes financial sense for espionage missions. And you might as well use UGs if you're gonna let an AI control your soldiers. So yeah, they're probably using emotional restraints, but those cyborgs are fighting of their own free will.
Starting to see where I'm coming from?
I get it, it's just... you didn't used to seem so comfortable with the idea. What about what Sam said? About your ideals holding you back?
Ah, bullshit. He's good, but now I know how he moves, how he thinks, and I've got my new body. My philosophy says when and why to fight, not how. It won't keep me from beating Sam. And next time we meet, I will beat him. I'll kill him, and I'll do it to save others from suffering, with my ideals intact.
All right, Raiden.
The Hammerhead missiles have an inertia fuse. Get them before they stop and they will not detonate. And if it's too late to run, try blade mode.
Most impressive, Raiden.
Yeah. Gonna have to do a lot more than float around like that to beat me.
Indeed, indeed. So, now you are in Sukumi Old Town. Pretty much still the same as after war in 1990s.
Looks like it.
Make your way through town. You'll need to pass through an abandoned hotel to reach the hill. The hotel is serving as headquarters for cyborg forces patrolling the new city.
Sounds like a blast. And why exactly am I walking right into enemy HQ?
Well, it's not a stealth mission, eh? Striking them will weaken their entire forces. Besides, we don't want them stabbing you in the back.
All right. At least I'll get to top off my electrolytes.
This is the spirit. Trust me, it is easier than knocking on refinery front gate.
One thing I can't stop wondering about, Kev.
What's up?
Sam. If he wanted to kill me back on the train, he could have, easily. So, why didn't he?
Good question. But I should be asking you. Your left eye was our only video feed. After he stabbed it, I got nothing. I mean, I got the details from your report after the fact, but that's it. He was probably just too distracted. Boris's attacks, escaping, there was a lot going on.
No, that's not it.
Well, why else? What does he have to gain from letting you live?
I don't know. That was a hammerhead, right? I know it's the first canard rotor wingcraft to go into general use.
Capable of taking off vertically like a helicopter with a fixed wing mode for speedy flight. A jet nozzle on the rotor provides the propulsion that spins the rotor and keeps the craft hovering. During flights, the rotor is fixed, becoming the craft's main wing. The tail wings and canards, the wings on the far front, provide lift while the craft is changing modes.
Pretty wild. And the hammerhead's the only one out there.
The design began as DARPA-funded research. The craft they designed could take off and hover well enough, but they could never figure out how to handle going over to fixed wing. The project was cancelled in 2006, but AT Corps apparently picked up where they left off.
Sounds like a troubled development.
But worth the effort. Unlike a helicopter or tilt rotor, the machinery spinning the rotor is exceedingly simple. Not only does it cut down on weight, but maintenance is made easier. In fixed-wing mode, it is no different from any other jet aircraft, giving it a decisive speed advantage. I must say it's well suited as an escort to a tilt rotor, too.
I can see you're a fan.
Oh, I'm a fan of anything imaginatively designed. As a scientist, it pushes all my buttons, one would say. In terms of innovation, it shares a great deal with the Triebflügel, a World War II-era German concept craft. It, too, utilized the tip-jet concept.
Doesn't look like it has any business being in the air, though. I'd be kind of nervous riding in one.
Oh, but that's just what would make the ride such fun, no? I'm a firm believer in the case for more pie-in-the-sky experimentation like this. We live in an age of UGs, after all. We don't even need test pilots.
No one's gonna get on if it crashes, Doc.
Need something else?
I thought we'd get back to our little history lesson. What do you know about the Patriots?
I know that they were behind everything we talked about before with the SOP system. People thought these 12 guys controlled world politics and the global economy from the shadows.
And they were right. Except there weren't 12, and they weren't guys, or even human. They were massive AI networks.
All the better to gather information on a global scale, or censor it if they wanted. They'd manipulate factions to keep wars raging, all while selling arms to both sides. The PMCs made billions too, of course. SOP was the Patriots' masterstroke. They could control battles directly, down to each individual soldier. The system might even still be around if the AIs hadn't all been destroyed.
I'm impressed. You know your stuff. Not many people have even heard of the Patriots. More than when they were active, but still, not many. Almost no one knows they were AIs, or that they're the real reason SOP went away.
Well, the few that do know aren't going to talk about it publicly. Even the world leaders.
Especially the world leaders. The people would panic, assuming anyone believed them, which they wouldn't. You can find speculation on the net if you look hard enough. Some of them get pretty close to the truth, but the stories never made it into the mainstream. Just another conspiracy theory.
I'm not surprised. It's It's a little hard to believe, you know? It just sounds crazy. When Kevin briefed me about all this in orientation, I thought it was some kind of BS detecting test.
The enemy's got vehicles using that route. It's too far on foot and too heavily guarded. Stick with the plan and make your way through the old city.
Pretty stupid to try and hide here.
Looks to me like Russian spies.
Hey, we are so... No,
So you could not stop them. Well, so be it. Perhaps you've got enough to worry about.
Right.
That sucks. I know it's not part of our mission, but I don't like seeing innocent civilians die for no reason.
Yeah.
Did they...
Life signs are nil. Guess I was too late.
Copy that. Back to the mission, I guess.
Doctor, you have anything more on these cyborgs?
Only what we went over in your briefing, if you had been paying attention. Standard military-grade cyborgs. MCFC integrated carbon nanotube muscle fibers. Impressive response time and power yield when focused correctly. Most will likely possess extrasensory skills as well. Infrared vision is almost standard these days. They can function without breathing for short periods of time.
Okay. Nothing I didn't already know.
Not all cyborgs you face will be the same, of course. You may notice a range of different capabilities. It all depends on the manufacturer. Muscle fiber and neurotransmission technology is advancing all the time. Of course, you have the very latest science has to offer. A typical cyborg is no match for your equipment.
If you do say so yourself.
No, I realize combat is about more than the equipment. Situational awareness, predictive ability, nerves. One must determine a course of attack or defense and execute on a moment's notice. Reaction time is key. Cyborg enhancements do not change that.
Agreed.
These rifles Desperado's using. Mac 200s, right? Same as Maverick's standard issue. Nice weapon. Not that any gun is much use against a cyborg.
The 200 is a thing of beauty. We were one of the first to adopt them 3 years ago. It has minimal muzzle flash and report when firing, and little recoil. Plus, the ejection port near the muzzle makes it good in both left and right hand. Rare for bullpup rifle. Easy maintenance, tough enough to take some dirt without jamming every shot, and it takes standard NATO magazine, so you can find ammo on almost any mission, anywhere in the world.
Sounds like somebody's in love.
Well, it reminds me of the good old days. Most Soviet gear was trash, yes, but the rifles... the rifles. The best in the world. And it seems I'm not the only one to appreciate them.
Apparently not. I see Macs everywhere these days.
They've spread all over the world, and so quickly. Still, I am sad to see Desperado using them against us.
Well, not much we can do about it now.
Such an elegant weapon, waved around Stado Pridurkov. Что вы столи?
Okay, Boris, okay. Just calm down. What was that civilian doing here, anyway?
No idea. Maybe he's just curious. Or maybe he's with the refinery. That plant's the biggest thing this city's got going. There's practically nothing more important. If he works there, he is probably losing it right about now.
Either way, he's either foolish or crazy running around here by himself.
Well, he's not your problem anymore. Better get back to the mission.
One thing I don't understand, Kev. Desperado must be violating all kinds of laws here. Why hasn't the international community gotten involved?
Well, from a purely legal standpoint, it's actually not so cut and dry. First, there's the fact that Abkhazia is still not a member of the UN. Only Russia and a few other breakaway states even recognize it as a sovereign nation. In the eyes of most of the international community, Abkhazia is technically still part of Georgia, which would make this an internal Georgian issue.
Guess you can't really call it a coup if the displaced government was never seen as legitimate.
Exactly. And even if everyone agrees it was a coup, it can be tough to tell which regime is more legit. Sometimes you'll see the military topple a dictator and establish a provisionary government, for example. Now, if they confirmed atrocities were taking place, the UN could deploy troops, recognize government or not.
Yeah, but they learned their lesson in Somalia.
Right. Ever since then, they've been a lot more reluctant to get involved in civil wars.
Raiden, let's recap your route.
Shoot.
First, continue down the road you are on. An abandoned hotel is up ahead. This road ends at the hotel. Enter and you should be able to reach a hill from the roof. There are more Soviet ruins past that hill. Get through there and you will reach the rear of the refinery.
Head for the hotel roof. Got it.
So that's where they're holed up.
Some kind of electronic lock on the gate.
Most likely it opens only if you have the right ID data stored in your left hand. Perhaps you could find a cyborg with access and borrow it?
You see any cyborgs around here, Doc?
Why not double back? Check the vehicle route again. You know, back at the entrance to the old city. Who knows? Maybe you can hitch a ride. Most likely platoon commanders carry correct ID data for the gate. Use enhanced mode to figure out who to hit.
Oh, excellent work. There was classified data embedded in that hand. It appears that man underwent modification at the Patriot facility, just as you did.
Boris, do we have anything else on Dolzaev? Any more on his background?
Very little confirmed intel, but it seems he is a former Chechen insurgent. He claims he was part of the Chechen National Congress when they declared independence in '91. This was just after the famous coup attempt in Moscow in August. Things were not stable. Gorbachev lost his political power. It was Yeltsin who signed the Belavezha Accords.
Right. It created the Commonwealth of Independent States. All republics that made up the USSR became independent.
The problem is, Chechnya was never a true republic. It was an autonomous state, but still part of the Russian Republic.
Like how Abkhazia was an autonomous state within the Georgian Republic.
Duh. The same kind of sad story. Russia does not recognize Chechnya as independent. They send troops and the fighting begins. It is said 250,000 Chechens were killed over the 2 wars that followed. 1/4 the entire population. The Chechens were forced to give in, and the war officially ended.
But the rebels kept on fighting.
Insurgents fled into Caucasus Mountains, formed several factions. They waged guerrilla war on Russia ever since. We think Dolzaev is the leader of just such a rebel group.
Sounds like Russia bears some of the blame for radicalizing him and his men.
I love my homeland, but she is not perfect. What nation is? Just remember, this could all be smoke. We cannot even confirm Dolzaev is truly ethnic Chechen.
Say he is, though. What would he be after here in Abkhazia?
Some Chechen militants volunteered to fight for the Abkhaz in their war in the early 90s. But when Russia recognized Abkhazia to keep Georgia in check, they also began funding recovery.
Which the Dolzaev crowd see as a play to gain influence. But wasn't the Chechen recovery funded by Russia?
Duh. And many rebels believe this is why their people gave up on independence. Perhaps this is exactly why Dolzaev is here, to alert the people before it can happen again. But if the Abkhaz people are not interested in fighting, his plan could backfire.
So in a way, it's Russian policy that brought him here. He thinks he's fighting to make these people free.
Whatever his motives, no one elected him and no one gave him a permit for murder. Now that he is allied with Desperado, he is too dangerous to ignore.
Hey, Doc, I'm curious. Can I recharge off any cyborg? Even a non-military unit? Not that I ever would, of course.
A pedestrian cyborg? I very much doubt you will encounter any of those on this op. Besides...
Against the rules of engagement, I know. Like I said, just curious.
In theory, then. No, I would doubt very much that you could. Even from those that opted for complete body replacements due to injury or illness, you know. Though I have heard of some very wealthy clients who wanted to fight the effects of aging.
Doctor?
Ah, yes, your question. No, extracting MCFCs from pedestrian cyborgs is unlikely. Most non-military enhancements use polymer muscle fiber that is a generation behind yours. Carbon nanotube would be a bit much for anyone who wished to lead a normal life, you know. And polymer systems can be powered by rechargeable electric batteries. Organic muscle fiber, which allows extraction of nutrients from the bloodstream, does exist, but it requires artificial blood for sufficient power output. This so-called white blood requires regular dialysis and was mostly phased out once cyborg technology became mainstream. True, some use cultivated muscle tissue to take nourishment from the body's natural bloodstream. But such systems are more regenerative medicine than cyborg technology. I'm sure you'll agree. Of course, natural musculature or no, if the body is equipped with a ceramic bone structure...
Can't get energy from non-military cyborgs. Got it.
Well, one moment. I have more...
Thanks, Doc.
I should have guessed you would choose this route.
Boris, Any idea where they're getting the money to fund this operation? Assembling this many cyborgs can't come cheap. Not to mention getting them all here.
There are two questions we have about the money. Is Dolzaev paying Desperado out of his own pocket?
And if not, then who is?
We do not know size of Dolzaev's war chest, only that he has some funding. Insurgent does not always mean the dirt-poor guerrilla with the hunting rifle and homemade bomb. Some rebel groups are very well funded. In Arab oil nations, for instance.
Right. They have benefactors who share the same ideology.
There is also a chance some other party is backing Desperado directly, creating conflict for their own reasons, like the Patriots used to. Many groups stand to profit from wars, yes? Not just PMCs. Arms maker, contractor. Perhaps it is this kind of corporation behind him.
The oil interests alone could make billions here.
Already this violence so near the Abkhazia-Sochi pipeline is affecting markets. An interruption in the pipeline would shift the balance of power between the world's oil giants. Whether it's Dolzaev's goal or no, many groups stand to gain a lot of money from this mess.
So what about the US and Russia? What's their take on all this?
Well, America was never very friendly with Abkhazia or South Ossetia in the first place. And the Georgian government's a regional ally, so the US really has no cause to intervene. Russia wants the old government back, of course. The regime open to their influence. I doubt they'll opt for any large-scale action. Tensions with Georgia are running high already, but you can bet your ass they won't just sit on the sidelines. Boris has got a lot of connections in the Russian bureaucracy. Ex-military buddies. The Abkhaz are officially our clients, but I'm sure it's Russia that chose us. Maybe footing the bill, too. They can't use their actual special forces, so they call us instead. That's the beauty of PMCs.
We're not bound by the same rules as state-sponsored military.
Other countries would be outraged if the Russians went into places we can go freely. From our side, no state to answer to means we can run things as we see fit. By our own code, no compromises.
Then again, there's no one to say our code is what's right.
True. And opinions on that change from person to person, situation to situation. But you let your moral compass waver at all in this business, and real people pay the price. Money's always a factor, of course, but when it becomes the factor, that's when you got problems. The Montreux document lays out guidelines for what PMCs can and can't do, but there's no way to enforce it. A lot of people see that as the fatal flaw of the entire industry. After all, that's how we end up with rogue outfits like Desperado. Then again, it's also what leaves Maverick free to go after them. The industry has a bad rep, but it isn't good or bad itself. It's up to the morals of those who work in it. All we can do is what we think is right and try to lead by example. Anyway, sorry, you know how I am about this stuff. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Don't apologize. That's exactly why we took this job. Taking Sakumi back is the right thing to do.
Agreed. And now, that's all up to you, buddy.
To get to the plant, first make your way to the hotel roof.
Dolzaev. That woman.
Raiden, what's happening? Your heart rate spiked.
Yeah, I just dodged a bullet. All right, I'm heading for the refinery. Boris, I got a visual on Dolzaev and Mistral. Looked like they were arguing over something. Mistral's heading up the force at the refinery, correct? We're sure on that?
Yes, but I'm not sure how good a commander she is. As a fighter, talented, yes, I know, but...
Well, neither one looked very happy. Maybe she'll withdraw.
Oh, I doubt that. She may not like him, but she will follow her orders. She is just the leader on the ground here, I think. Someone else is calling the shots behind cover.
All right. But what's the end game here? Say I die and we can't stop them. Then what? Are they even capable of forming a real government? Do they think the people here would support Dolzaev?
Good questions, Tovarich. History shows it is a much easier thing to take a government than to keep it.
An unpopular regime can only ignore the will of the people for so long before they rise up. And trying to do all this with PMC soldiers? Difficult. And very, very expensive.
Someone else must be bankrolling this for their own reasons. Someone with very deep pockets. Who stands to benefit the most from all this?
Most likely someone with an interest in that refinery. The plant has pipelines connecting with Sochi in Russia and Supsa in Georgia. Crude oil from the Caspian Sea is refined in Sukhumi and then sent on to Russia.
Oil. I wonder if Dozayev knows he's being used. Then again, I wonder if he'd even care.
Raiden, the Mistral woman. Is she truly a full-body cyborg?
That's what the intel says, at least. Why? You notice something?
Indeed. Two somethings, in fact. Based on their movements, her chest region did not appear to be artificial.
You can tell that just from what I saw?
Indeed. After some detailed image analysis, I am 80% certain that is her own natural torso. If it is indeed a cyborg chassis, it is the most advanced I've ever seen. Such technology would not come cheap. It would mean whoever is backing Desperado is likely quite wealthy.
Probably so. As far as Mistral goes, it really doesn't matter to me. Natural, synthetic, man, woman, an enemy is an enemy.
Ah, are you not even the least bit curious?
Raiden, you need to save?
Did you catch all that, with Dozayev and Mistral?
Yeah, I was monitoring the whole time. Dolzayev's not really what I expected. I've seen his file, plenty of photos, but I guess I expected someone more, I don't know, threatening?
Didn't seem too friendly to me.
No, I mean, you hear terrorist, you think of some cold, calculating professional. Dolzayev looks more like some guy off the street.
Cold, calculating professional types don't usually bother with terrorism. It's too risky. Most terrorists are ordinary people, radicalized one way or another.
Yeah, I guess so.
Of course, that doesn't make what they do any easier to forgive. What about Mistral? What'd you think?
Well, she's certainly attractive. Probably an artificial face, though. I'm guessing most of her is artificial.
Roger that. You get all that, Kev? The woman with Dozayev. That's Mistral?
Yep. The only female member of the Winds of Destruction. The name is from a cold, dry regional wind in France that blows from the Alps down to the Mediterranean.
She French?
Yep. Born in Algeria, though. It was a French colony until they declared independence in the early 60s. Haha, but you already knew that.
Yeah. They were the last French colony in Africa.
You know your history. Plenty of French colonial families still live there. Pied Noir, they're called.
I've heard the term. The main character in that Camus novel, The Stranger, was one.
You also find a lot of Algerians who've immigrated to France, although they put a stop to that a while ago.
Yeah. A lot of European countries seem to be clamping down on immigration lately.
Mistral joined the Foreign Legion to get her citizenship.
A woman legionnaire?
And not the first. There was one that served in the North Africa campaign during World War II. Anyway, Mistral's been doing PMC work ever since her Legion discharge. We're not sure why she went cyborg. She's officially leading the force at the refinery, but she is also a combatant. I don't have anything on her combat style, but do not underestimate her. The Winds of Destruction are trained killers, all of them. They didn't let her in because of her looks.
I don't need a reminder. I won't let my guard down.
Yeah, but, speaking of her looks, she's got, well, I mean, a couple of huge... Look, just don't get distracted, okay?
Sounds like you should take your own advice there, Kev. So, Kev, what exactly goes on here anyway? I mean, obviously refining oil, but what else involved with that? How careful do I need to be?
Skip that week in science class, huh? All right, how much do you know already?
Just the basics. They take crude and refine it into gas and stuff. Other usable fuels, right?
Well, yeah, and stuff. Kerosene, liquefied petroleum gas, naphtha, jet fuel.
Naphtha?
the raw material for ethylene, which is then the raw material for polyethylene and other plastics. Crude oil's used for a lot more than just fuel, you know. These days, it's the core component of just about every chemical product.
Okay.
Crude contains a lot of molecular hydrocarbons and impurities. The refinery distills and extracts these hydrocarbons at their different boiling points. Once the impurities are removed, what's left can be used to make gasoline and so on.
Right. So, pretty much exactly what I said in the first place.
Oh, well, if you know all this already, I guess we're done here.
I could use a bit more detail on.
All right, cool then. Kevin out.
So Mistral's from Algeria. Have you ever been?
No. You?
Once, for a consulting job. Pretty short trip, though.
I hear it's pretty safe there now, compared to how things were at the start of this decade.
Yeah, I was able to slip a little sightseeing in. Pretty nice spot for a vacation. Kind of hot, though. 80% of it's the Saharan desert, and wow, it was just like you'd imagine. So much sand. You could easily imagine camel caravans trekking beneath the early evening moon. It was like something from another world.
Yeah? I thought only a sixth of the Sahara was sandy like that. The French carried out a bunch of nuclear tests there too, I remember.
But once you reach the Mediterranean coast, it's a totally different place. All these white-walled buildings framed against intense blue sea. It's a really stark contrast.
Were you in Algiers? I know that the capital looks a lot like that.
Yep. The local cuisine's totally French-influenced. I'll never forget this one lunch near my hotel. A baguette sandwich and a café au lait. Simple and simply unforgettable. Oh, there were a bunch of sweet shops in town too. High-quality European candy, but so cheap.
Sounds like you ate your way across the country.
Well, food's an important part of local culture, you know. Oh, and speaking of which, the seafood. I didn't expect to see Mediterranean fish in African cuisine, but it was also fresh and flavorful. They'd fry up small fish whole, then drizzle them with lemon juice. I could have eaten that all day.
Sounds like a lot of calories.
I tried to stay active, you know.
Hey, did you know my visual analyzers can tell me how much someone weighs?
Yeah, I'll have to talk with Doc about disabling that one. Roger that. Keep up the good work. Hey, Raiden, let me ask you something. The Patriots. Why would AIs do all of that? I can see why people would want all the money, but AIs? What did they stand to gain from it all?
Who knows? Maybe they didn't even know. Optical neuro AIs aren't your typical PCs. They learn over time, change in unpredictable ways. The core AI, JD, was bent on expanding the war economy. Maybe to fund the Patriots' other activities. Or maybe that's just the way it evolved, like a secondary objective that took over. One of the other AIs said it was created to filter out unnecessary information, gossip, trivia, all for the sake of future generations, to drive the evolution of the human race. Or so it said. Was that the truth? Or a lie? To manipulate me. Who can say?
To think. Something like that. Running a nation. And America, no less. It's terrifying. Thank God they were all destroyed.
But did it really change that much?
Maybe not. Contractors still gotta eat after all. Soldiering for hire's always been a risky business. But at least before it was good money. There was a decent chance you could get rich and retire early. All that disappeared during the SOP years. Demand was high, but the workforce was flooded. More and more soldiers were willing to work for cheap. It got so you'd have to work years before you could even pay back your initial training and insurance fees.
Yeah, I can see Sundowner's point.
The global recession certainly didn't help. Unemployment shot up across the US and the EU. Even if contractors gave up and packed it in, there weren't any jobs waiting for them back home.
The irony is the recovery was all war-driven. It wasn't a general recovery at all. Not only did globalization exploit the poor countries, but it crippled first world employment too.
And SOP's gone. But now we've got these PMCs that are basically mobsters. Just thugs in uniform.
Yeah, not a pretty picture.
So, as I was saying, there are many differences between pedestrian and military cyborgs.
You're still on about this.
Now, first and foremost, military cyborgs are generally full-body conversions.
You mean as opposed to partials?
Yes, as opposed to just grafting on an arm or leg where a myoelectric prosthesis would suffice. As I have said, for the general public, these full-body replacements are quite rare. Quite rare. Only in cases of extreme injury or illness, generally. Perhaps a few eccentrics who wish to live longer. In any case, most pedestrian cyborgs are no more than an artificial limb or two. We call these partials.
Doctor, I know. I just said that.
Partials enhancements are not designed to meet the rigors of military use. A pair of synthetic arms attached to an organic body cannot match the power of those on a full cyborg. Total body conversions also armor the entire soldier against stray ordnance and minor injury. This is why wounded contractors most often opt for the works rather than simply replacing the lost limb.
I hear it's why most of Maverick cyborgs had it done, anyway.
Of course, there is the rather dramatic change in appearance to consider. Civilian life as a cyborg can be, well, complicated, as I'm sure you can attest. But for the field, man and metal, capability beyond the natural human body, it has a functional beauty.
Beauty or beast?
Both lie in the eye of the beholder, which brings us to the senses. Machine implants can also restore lost vision and hearing, and with added sensitivity, as you know. Such options have become standard in most military conversion packages, along with pain suppression and dampening less useful emotions, similar to how SOP operated.
Yeah, no matter how hard I'm hit, it doesn't really hurt.
Of course, everything has its limits. Do not let your high threshold for pain make you reckless.
Understood.
classified Patriot information was in that man's holographic memory. Very well done.
We intercepted call for backup during your last fight. The caller's position is on your Soliton radar. You can engage if you wish. It is your choice.
Up above you! What do you think Dolzaev and that woman were discussing? Even your ears could not catch it, huh?
No. Even enhanced hearing doesn't help when it's too far for sound vibrations to travel.
A pity they were outdoors. We could have deployed laser surveillance unit if they were inside, near window.
Yeah, maybe if conditions were perfect. I'd have to be lined up just right to get the beam directly in front of the glass. And there's the problem of noise, too.
Duh, true enough.
Anyway, not much point talking about it now. Better I just head over there and wrap this up.
Of course, of course. I only wonder because I have no idea what Dolzaev is thinking. The more intel we have, the better.
Relax, Boris. Once I take out Mistral, the rest will be easy.
Let us hope so. Right. The cliff is just ahead at the end of the old city. Beyond that is the refinery's backyard.
So what? It's a sheer drop? The refinery's not connected to the city at all?
No, it was only built 2 years ago. There should be a narrow path around there that leads to the plant. It is protected by a fence, but probably you can cut your way through.
Probably.
Don't get cocky. Most likely it is Desperado running security down there. Dolzaev and his team must be in here. Find him.
Doctor, about my pain threshold. It doesn't hurt exactly, but I can still feel it. It's not painful, but it's still pain. It's hard to explain.
Well, your nervous system is still fully intact, of course. It would be dangerous for you to be entirely unaware of your body taking damage. Instead, your nerves are controlled such that pain is no longer so unpleasant.
How do you mean?
Take epinephrine, for example, or adrenaline, as you might know it. This hormone makes it harder to feel pain, yes? Your implants work using a similar method. Yet, for all we now understand of the nature of pain, much of it remains a mystery.
How so?
Well, why do we feel pain? Evolutionarily speaking, of course, to signal external injury or internal sickness. If the body is threatened, pain notifies the brain so it can take steps to ensure survival. In other words, pain has a clear and logical purpose. But, in certain cases, pain can drive more unconstructive behavior. In situations where fight and flight are both still options, one might simply break down crying or drop to the ground and begin writhing about. This would appear only to diminish one's chance of survival, not increase it, yes?
Maybe there's some other factor at play.
Well, the most common theory would link pain with the societal nature of humanity. If no friends are close by, then experiencing pain might indeed reduce your likelihood of survival. But if allies are near, these expressions of pain serve as a plea for help. Thus, you are more likely to live. Fear of pain might also discourage one from entering a dangerous situation in the first place. Whatever the reasons, the data clearly shows that survival rates rise directly with sensitivity to pain. The converse is also proven. Those less able to feel or express pain have a lesser chance of survival. So, mankind has evolved as a social animal, and in the process, pain has become more pronounced, more visceral.
A little pain never hurt anyone, huh? But if pain is there to ensure survival, well, what's that say about the future for us cyborgs?
As a transhumanist, I do not believe all evolution must follow the exact method Darwin posited. Cyborg technology is still survival of the fittest, after all. Just in a new form. You should be proud of what your body has become. It is the culmination of great achievements in science.
Me? I had nothing to do with it. The credit's all yours.
Well, yes. I should be proud as well.
So who actually owns this plant?
On the books, a private abkhaz firm. In reality, the Russian state.
So all the money goes right back to Russia?
It does provide Abkhazia with fuel and electricity. But yes, it was clearly built for Russian interests.
How do you mean?
The Caspian Sea is a major source of gas and oil. But these days, most of it never passes through Russia. Not since the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline was built. With it, the oil flows straight to Europe.
But that pipeline runs straight through Georgia. Why did the Georgian government allow it?
Money, of course, and power. Having a major pipeline run through your land brings plenty of both. The South Ossetia War taught Georgia they could not always rely on the West for support. They began working more with their neighbors in the region to build their own power base.
So Georgia stands to gain from this coup?
It would seem this way. Any scenario that ends with the refinery no longer under Russian control is good for Georgia. Even if they do not retake Abkhazia outright, they benefit if new regime is more friendly to Georgia. Perhaps this is Dolzaev's idea, to attract Abkhaz political leaders with a pro-Georgia agenda.
And that's why Georgia isn't taking action?
I very much doubt Georgian government would be involved in anything so obvious and so reckless. There must be someone else behind all this.
And Dolzaev's just playing along? Why would he?
Revenge, Tovarich. Anything to hurt Russia. Perhaps money as well. Who knows?
Yeah, the Russians can't be happy about all this. Let me guess. They contacted you through the FSB, right?
There were conversations, yes. But it was the Abkhaz government that enlisted us. We only took this mission because we knew it would help the people there. Besides, we cannot leave Desperado unchecked. Not after what happened.
Right. I won't let them profit from this mess. And we need to learn who's backing them.
Duh. And the first step to do this is take back that refinery. Raiden, wait. There are active IR sensors in the area. Part of factory security, no doubt, but the enemy may be using it.
Nice hiding spot. Wonder where he learned that from.
I was wondering when you'd come, Jack the Ripper.
No one calls me that anymore. Dolsaev, where is he?
I can show you a better time than that crusty old bear.
You're in charge here?
I am Mistral, the cold wind of France. And your reputation precedes you. Liberian, but white as snow. A natural-born killer, even as a child.
That was a long time ago.
I was born in Algeria myself, you know? I'm only half French.
And?
We had our own civil war in the 90s. So you see? Cut from the same cloth, you and I.
You don't know me.
I lost my whole family. Everything. But I butchered those fuckers. My family's killers. That's when I realized I am a killer too. And a good one at that. I slaughtered dozens in Iraq, in Afghanistan. I'd found my calling.
Proud of that, are you?
What happened, happened. To be honest, I found it quite dull. My enemies fell like domino, one after another. Not once did I feel threatened. I was adrift, without challenge, without purpose. At times, I even envied my prey. At least they had a cause to die for. And then, I met him.
Who?
And I knew what I had been missing. His ideals gave my life meaning. Ideals, Jack. What are yours?
I protect the weak.
Still? So naive.
And if I must kill to protect them, then so be it.
It seems we have less in common than I thought.
I'll take that as a compliment.
If you would kill for your ideals, then surely you are ready to die for them.
This weapon of hers has impressive range. She can defend with it, and yet crack like whip to attack.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Definitely suits her.
It does not work like anything I have seen before. I cannot tell where her attack will land. And even if you manage to parry, it may be hard to counterattack.
Yeah, I need to take care of that thing first.
When you see it go slack, be ready. If it hits, you have no chance of countering.
Raiden, you all right? That is one freaky lady. Yikes.
Aw, come on, Kev. Maybe she just needs to meet the right guy. I could slip her your number.
That's okay, man. I'm good. Besides, shouldn't you be worried about saving your own ass at the moment?
Well, yeah. Just thinking about how I'm gonna handle this.
If you're looking for advice, try hitting up Boris. Dr. might have some info, too. From the UG and Cyborg angle.
She's so cruel the way she stomps on those tripods. Just tosses them around. I feel so sorry for those little guys.
You feel sorry for robots sent to kill me?
Well, I mean, they're kind of cute, right? How they scamper around. They're like little mice.
You call that cute? I'd call it creepy.
Not at all. Trust me, ask any girl and they'll say the exact same thing.
Okay, sure, Courtney. I'll get right on that.
All right, whatever. You want to save or what? Save complete. Be careful, Raiden.
So she uses an augmentary arm composed of tripods. I cannot imagine how she controls such a thing all on her own, but it is quite intriguing.
Stay with me here, Doc. I need to destroy it, not study it.
Yes, but just look at it. How it doubles as a weapon. So elegant, so efficient. She can twist its joints and crack it like a whip, or pull it tight to lock it solid. And even should you destroy it, she can simply construct a new one using nearby tripods.
Ugh, this is gonna take forever.
Not necessarily. Until a new prosthesis is formed, she is defenseless, you know. There is your chance. Of course, you must still be wary of the tripod arm unit once it is detached. Even if she cannot wield it, she could resort to throwing it at you. The electrolytes in the fuel cells of those units are highly explosive should they have a detonator.
Use her weapon to block, but it is made of tripod parts. Even if they are an improved, so keep striking.
Got it.
Yes, and once this will be your chance.
Don't you want this plan?
Mistro, report! Your vitals are dropping.
I lost. So this is how they felt.
What?
Dying. For a cause.
Wait. No. Hold on.
I am sorry. He was too much.
I do not need apology. I need you alive.
But I know you will never fall.
What? What is this talk about?
Je t'aime. De tout mon corps.
Je t'aime. Mister, you'll never...
She's not talking to you, idiot.
You killed her! You vile nuts! Murderer!
That's rich coming from you. It's overdose, I am. Surrender. Translation?
Why would I surrender? We are exactly where I want.
Shit.
Built with Russian money to make Russian money. It is no plan for Abkhaz. It is their prison. But now, they will be free!
Damn! Crazy son of a bitch!
Raiden? Raiden, what happened?
Bastard blew himself up!
I see. Time to get you out of there. We're sending a helicopter. Secure an LZ.
Understood.